Discovering the Scriptures with Dr. Peter John. I am 60 plus years old now, 60 in a few months. And I have learned in my short period of time, mostly from gathering information from the Delaney sisters, who lived to be 104 and 108, way before my time, and they died during my time, that history is wrote by those who have the money and want to tell the story their way. Why am I discussing this? In Daniel chapter 7, and it's like either verse 20 or 21, we found out about the passively winning over the saints with the war being fought passively. And discussing that with other Christians, the first thing that we pointed to was the television set when I was talking about the topic. How the television set is the number one thing that passively takes our holiness and our righteousness and makes us lower our standard because of being exposed to either cussing or nudity or idolatry or adultery. You know, all the Ten Commandments being broke, basically, and how we don't do anything about it. And that first started, I'm going to tell you right now, if you go on Wikipedia, you won't even find it. But it first started with Gone with the Wind, when they first used the first cuss word on TV, and I'd say it, but that'd be lowering our standards, so I'm not going to do it. It started with a D, and they used that word on that film, and it raised such a stink. It was unreal. People would not watch that movie because of them swearing, and for the first time, and they weren't fined for it. And then we've gone through time where people wanted to swear on the radio, and they were all concerned about being fined. And then, so we had radio people that wanted to swear, and they thought it was no big deal, and that these religious people were all nuts, and so they started swearing, and it went through big fines in court and everything else, First Amendment rights, and so now people are swearing left and right on the radio. They've got the rap music where there's more swearing than there is any other word, and people are just buying these CDs for the children now. No big deal. It used to be you would not give a child that. You wouldn't swear in front of a child. Now people swear all the time. Oh, she hears it all the time. He hears it all the time. These kids hear it all the time. So then we go ahead and lower our standard, and then we find ourselves cussing in front of these children. I saw it this weekend. So now we find that these standards of holiness and righteousness are being lowered, and the television set is one of the prime tools, and the radio, of lowering our standards. We no longer shut the radio off or shut the TV off when we hear them use God's name in vain or when they're swearing. We never turn it off. We turn the station. Now we don't turn it off. We don't turn the station. We let it go ahead and play until we notice that there's too much of it, and then we shut it off. And now we don't shut it off at all. Lowering the standards, prevailing against the saints. Because when you lower your standards and you don't even think about it anymore, because it's so prevalent, you're like Lot when he went to Sodom and Gomorrah. His soul was vexed. But he was still bothered by it. We get to the point that we're no longer bothered by it unless somebody mentions it. And then we acknowledge it and we don't do a thing about it. Prevailing against the saints. It's happening now, which means we are in the end times. We are in the last days. When will be Jesus' return? It won't be long, because we're now living through prevailing against the saints passively. You have to look and see how Daniel wrote this. What was the meaning? How did he write this? It was all passively written for this one verse. Passively. He was relating what was going on. The verbs that he used were passive verbs. Passively prevailing. There you go. Now the question is, will you do anything about it in your life? Will you raise the bar of holiness and righteousness back up to where it should be? Back up. Let me ask you a question. If someone spoke to your loved one, your mom, your dad, your wife, your husband, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your son, your daughter, if someone spoke to them nastily or used their name nastily, would you defend them? Would you listen to people talk about them in a nasty way and put their name with swearing and just nasty go to town? Would you listen to that? Would you put up with that? Well, do you love Jesus? Do you love God? Why are you putting up with it with them? Lowering your standards. Have you lowered your standards so much that you're allowing that to happen? You don't say something or walk away or turn it off. Prevailing against the saints. We're in the end times because it's been going on for well over a decade. When I was in Europe in I think it was 84, when I was in Italy, I saw nudity, full nudity, on the TV set in a woman's kitchen. And swearing, don't remember when I saw that, I heard that. But I remember the nudity. And she said, oh yeah, she said, that's been here for a while. Oh, they don't do that in the United States. She said to me, give them time. I said, that's impossible. Well, guess what? Didn't take long, did it? Lowering the bar, prevailing against the saints. What do you think? And to add in one more thing, A.W. Tozer said he would not watch the Jesus movie because of how menacing it was going to be. It was made by wicked people in Hollywood, not biblical scholars. And as we well know, when you look at any of the Jesus movies, they're not by Scripture. You look at the Ten Commandments, with Charleston Heston in it, and you think about it, read the Bible story, and see just how much it's not like it at all. And yet, as children, we watched that, and we believed it. And when we read the account in the Old Testament, we realized how wrong the movie was. So what do you want to do? Feed yourself and your offspring fables or the truth? Truth or lies? Prevailing against the saints.